What is up, guys? Evan Aldo here. Welcome back to the channel. I wanted to give you an update on kind of how the markets are right now. We'll talk about what I think. I was talking about getting a little, Evan Aldo's getting a little bit more bearish, right now, but not too bearish. You know what I mean? A little bit more bearish. We're going to, as I've been saying for months, I think we're going to see, 3,800, 3,700 at some point. The earliest I was seeing us peak out is kind of like mid-August, which, we're kind of past mid-August now, and then potentially to that, kind of correction, which could happen. And there's some things to back it up in the charts. We could bounce from here. We're hitting a pretty significant point, but when I look at the charts, it is starting to get a little bit more where I could see the case of, maybe a bearish week or two. We come down. August is actually the red month instead of September. And then September is kind of a green month. October is a green month. And then potentially some alts linger on after a potential, Bitcoin top in, to October, which would most likely equate to what you normally see based on the halving for your cycle, all that good stuff. So yeah, as you can see, the ETH long right now is in the red. You're going to lose some trades. It is what it is. Maybe we come back up. We'll see. People are trying to go long a little bit more right now. I know, I like to look at the funding rates and all that. Fear and greed too. The fact that more people are trying to go long kind of means sometimes, that it goes the other way, and then it comes down. But fear and greed right now is getting more into the fear. I thought, ETH almost at a new all-time high, you'd be in higher greed, but I think it's actually good in a sense because if we do come down, like let's say we come down with into, let's say, like for our 611 to okay, so like 10 or 2 weeks, let's say 10 days, you come down back to 40, and then from 40. So this is say we're at 40 in like early September, and it takes 2 months or a month, to get up to extreme greed. It's kind of a no-brainer. If you're in extreme greed in like sometime in October, that's probably the place to start DCing out. Or if you're somebody who's just taking a lump sum out, just get out in October. If it's like 2017 into 2018, that market, you would likely see Bitcoin peak in October, and then some alts could run for a few more months. Even in the last cycle, 21 into 22, you didn't see a lot of NFTs peak out until April of 22. So it depends, pick your poison. How long do you want to, stick around in this? I think what makes the most sense is kind of DCing out from October to December. Now, let's get into the kind of the charts here and look at, what's happening. We'll start with Bitcoin a little bit. So if we do, the big area, and I learned this from, I think I learned this from Gareth Solway. There's a lot of people who have talked about this, but I think he calls it like scene of the crime. A lot of times things when they break down, they want to retest kind of that previous high that was acted as resistance, now support. So that would be equate to maybe back down to 108 if you can't bounce kind of from where we are, right now. Money flow is coming into the red here. I would be looking at some of these kind of trigger waves forming on some of these time frames here, such as 22 hour. You're probably seeing it now on the daily almost. Almost that trigger wave. So that would probably mark a bottom, and that could be after, after we do drop to 108. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. Sometimes people want to know, exactly what's going to happen and all that, and they want to, bet their entire net worth to become a multi-billionaire in, 5 days. I wish it was that easy, but that's not, it's not how the game works. It's just, read the book Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas. You don't need to know what's going to happen to make money. It's all a game of probability. So, I do think when you look at, I think it is on the, do we have a bear div on the, yeah, on the 2 week. I have to lean maybe a little bit more bearish to come back down to this area. It's not impossible, but if you want to get really pessimistic, 103, kind of those areas. If you're thinking August into September, maybe you're real, or August, maybe you're kind of red month, 17% down, maybe 20% down for Ethereum. So, that's what we're looking at right now. If you wanted to trade this, you could try to, the place I would be definitely looking to take profits would be around that 108. So you could do something like that. You get a nice 2-to-1 little freebie right there for you guys. That's actually got a good shot of winning. Now it may not. It may get obliterated like this trade in the red. We don't know. It's all the kind of the game of probability. Now keep in mind, this is after I made over 10K on a ETH long and got stopped out in profit, a 10K profit. So, that's kind of how the game is. You're going to make, those gains, then you may lose 1,000, 2,000 here, and then it's kind of generally how it works for me, it's all about like your monthly returns. The goal is to get at least 10% a month returns. That's always been my goal. Sometimes you can get way more than that. Sometimes it's not as much, but that's how it is. And if you guys are interested in making some of these trades, check out BloFin down below. 100K deposit and trade rewards. You get 20% cash back if you sign up with my link down below, only with my link. And if you sign up to any of these other exchanges, these are good too. 100K, similar thing on Bitunix. It's 25% off your fees for life with my link on Bitunix. And then BYDFI is a 10K worth of Bitcoin trading bonus and 20% off your fees for life with my link. Remember, if you deposit at least $100 on any of these exchanges down below and open a support ticket in the Discord with your email or your UID, I'll give you 1 free month in All Down Empire VIP Discord, where I post a lot of these trade setups, stop losses, take entries, stop losses, take profits, and entries, all that. A lot, mainly swing trades. We got Nightshade in there, who's an excellent trader. KMAC as well, really good community. So check it out if you guys are interested. The link is down below. So it's Bitcoin right now. Ethereum, again, one of two things is going to happen. One, you're going to, it's a head and shoulders, which is my least favorite pattern. I think it's, it usually breaks upward, honestly, but it is historically a bearish, it's supposed to be a bearish pattern. And I mean, it can break downward, and you would have a technical target around 3,800 if you do break downward from here. I think that's one possibility. Money flow in the 3-hour would probably support that, and some of your higher time frames like bear divs, like this 2-day, you have to be a little bit, more bearish. You just have to be objectively a little bit more bearish. I mean, it may not confirm. You got a day to confirm, so we'll see what happens if we do bounce here. Well, but yeah, I mean, in all likelihood, I kind of, based on that, I kind of think you may come down a little bit more, retest 38 or something, 37. These kind of areas right here, kind of a scene of the crime area, big area right there. So yeah, I do think there is that possibility, but I think that, if you look at that, what that would equate to, so then you get about a 20% correction, which is, I guess just enough for a summer lull or something. And then from there, hopefully, let's say that's like end of month or something, let's extend this a little bit. Can you get up to 7,000 in September? Probably not, but can you get up to, this area in mid-October? Maybe. That would be kind of the most bullish, scenario I could see. I mean, I guess things could get crazier, but can you come down here, consolidate a little bit, and then jump up to new all-time highs in September, and then 7,400 in, October? Maybe. That could be the thing there. I mean, post-halving years, September's always been the red month in the previous two. Maybe it's 3 strikes you're out. Maybe this year's a little bit different, especially if you see a little bit of an earlier peak. It would make sense that August is your red month, rather than September. So that's what I'm kind of looking at right there. ETH versus Bitcoin. I don't think this is going to come down too much here. Maybe down to this point, this area right here. I guess it could come down farther. I don't think it. Probably this area. And I think you'll continue forward probably at least 0.05, at some point before the end of the year. Others versus Ethereum. This is what's important here, because even if ETH goes down to 3,800, and the markets do continue to correct here, which I think is a little bit more likely than not, like I mentioned, this could still outperform. It still could be not altcoin season in the sense that they're all going up and going crazy, but altcoin season in the sense that they're outperforming Bitcoin and Ethereum, which this can still go up. And I think it probably will, especially when you look at that 5-day, that looks pretty good. This should jump. And I mean, you could see this jump into potentially end of year. I think something like this could happen, similar to, that such a situation. Now, the thing is, all coins outperformed ETH as things went down here, so just keep that in mind as well. But I think it's going to be more generally as things go up here, so that's going to be good. A few alts that I really like right now. Chainlink, I think, got a good shot of a new all-time high by end of year. I think Chainlink is pretty good. And then, short term, they could come down a little bit. Let's be real. Solana should start to outperform ETH relatively soon, unless this really is underwhelming into the end of the year. But I think I have some hope for Solana. Short term, I mean, where could you end up? I don't think you're going to go all the way down to 155, but, maybe back down 160 or something like that, potentially. I mean, maybe another 10% down back to these lows or something. I don't know, 160, maybe even 150. Who knows? I said it wouldn't go into, I don't know. People are just change your position. It's hard when you get into some of these alts. It's harder to say, but yeah. Matic could be a little bit of one of the biggest depressors. I think into the end of the year, it should go up to like 50, 60 cents. That's what I'd be kind of, hoping to look at there for some of these. So, I mean, that's kind of what I'm looking at here. I wanted to look at, I don't know why, like Atom for some reason. I haven't looked at this in a minute. I'm just curious about, yeah, some of these like Atom, Dot, like some of the Dino, like legacy coins that have just been really boring. I think the thing I like on these is like you're getting like some of those trigger waves that just look so good on some of these lower time frames here, like Bull Div on the monthly. That's like first time ever here. So I do think you will get some once you're done with this correction or whatever, you will get some jump up higher in the coming months. So, that kind of situation there. But I think you got to kind of sit tight a few weeks, potentially sum it up, potentially sit tight a few weeks. Could come down to 37, 3,800, but I don't think you're going to come down much lower than that. And I think alts are going to, this drop is the real place to hop on alts and get like a 2 or 3x, hopefully. If we look at others itself, others down a little bit, but you keep making like higher lows. And here, this is good because this would be, if you come down just a little bit lower, like back to these lows here, that would probably be another, I don't know, from this low, another like 5-6% down, 4% down. And then you kind of form a pretty large, reverse head and shoulder situation. And if you can break up from there, your target would be at least 30% up, but really 50% when we get to that area. And then hopefully, breaking above there, 700 billion, which about a double for your average all. I think you can do that into sometime in Q4. So, yeah, a lot could happen. And then we got, the rate cut that should help us out in September. I think if we do come down into the rate cut, if we're generally down in that rate cut, maybe still below all-time highs for Ethereum, that could definitely help us out. Now, if we're at 5K or more for Ethereum and we somehow jump here, I think that rate cut could kind of, bring things down. But yeah, anyway, guys, really appreciate you guys smashing the like button. Check out the links down below if you want to trade. And I think there's going to be some good opportunities coming ahead. See you guys in the Discord. Goodbye.